it's really critical that people understand that even in the last days, there have been statements coming out about the television spying on you and everything that is being recorded, obviously, everything that is electronic hooked up to the net, hooked up to the brain, everything that's going on that way. And so what it's important, Doug, and I know you read Empire Beneath the Ice, but I think it's page 347 in my book, where I'm dealing with the idea that Nazis perfected the ability to not only project images like television, obviously they attribute that to what Farnsworth, if I remember my history of film and TV. The point is that the ancients had that perfected millennia ago. And what's more important is that, I don't know if you saw the story, Doug and Greg, but they're talking about being able to the intelligence agencies literally plant, if you want, mental bombs in people. Did you see that, Doug?
Yeah. And I made it, and by the way, that connection was not lost on me. Go ahead, sir.
Okay. So anyway, what we're seeing is a program group of people, and I believe that God is, I don't know how the Lord does what he does. He's God. I'm his servant, and Greg and everyone who loves Jesus, we're in this as he leads us. He's a good shepherd, but I don't want to be a dumb sheep. I want to be up on the mountains with the rams, and I mean that. And so the thing that, Greg, that I think we really need to get through is whatever, and I'm going to say this, you know what I mean by this, whatever you're comfortable with sharing, about the ship. Now, somebody sent me an email. Are you saying the ship is it the good guys, or is it the bad guys? Is it the Nazis, or who is the ship, the 2.5 mile long one?
Well, unfortunately, I have to tell you that this ship has been under construction for nearly 50 years, and all I can say about this is that it was put together with the idea that the so-called black covens of the world are going to be on board, as well as the Nazis and others who are working for Satan.
So basically, it's kind of, if you will, it's kind of like, well, let's just call it, I don't know that much about Star Wars terminology, but it's the Death Planet or the Death Ship or the Destroyer. And those of you who are Star Wars people, you feel free to correct me, but here's the thing I think is important. It's now in motion. The giants are now in motion. I got an email from someone that's saying, what's going on with the Russians in the Arctic? Well, the Russians are obviously dealing with the same thing in a different way and different technology. And Admiral Byrd's diary spoke about obviously entering the inner Earth through the Arctic opening, and obviously there are these Antarctic openings. But what's happening? It's a total manure is hitting not a single fan, but every propeller of every fan on the planet now is getting ready to be sprayed with manure. Now, that's tactful. Do you want to take it from there, Greg? That's as tactful as I can get.
Well, you put it where people can understand.
Is it your and again understanding how we prayed and understanding where we want to go. And what I'm saying this, ladies and gentlemen, you can see that I'm wrestling too in the back of my mind, and thank God I can dual process. I can't seem to stay on a given thought, but I can dual process. I'm saying, Lord, where do you want us to take this? Well, first of all, here's the deal. In the Bible, start looking up Leviathan and Behemoth, or some people pronounce it Behemoth. And one of my emailers sent this to me, and I know this is a woman who has, basically been an intercessor. And, here's what she said. This was on August 22nd, 2014. She said, Steve, remember when I sent you the two words Leviathan and Behemoth that the Lord had laid upon my heart? You are hearing correctly, ! And this is what she said. Now, again, this is almost 2 years ago. In a vision, I saw this gigantic animal monster walking on 4 legs the size of a dinosaur and almost looked like one. Only it was not a dinosaur. It was a machine made from metal bars. As I looked closer, it turned into a real animal with skin. I realized they are recreating the monsters, the huge animals, Behemoth and Leviathan, look it up. Then it came to me, they want to recreate the world to be like it was before the flood. Well, Greg, as you know, and I have never been in the military, but I get to hang out with some people that they can't say, well, that's higher than my pay grade. I got so tired of hearing that. I said, then put me in touch with someone who won't make that claim, because, you know, and I've not been in the military, but people are only allowed to say so much at the colonel, major, you know, levels, blah, blah, blah. So the thing is that God was gracious and gave me access to 4-star Spec Ops generals. I could not have done that. It has nothing to do with me. I want to make that clear. It has nothing to do with my failures, my personality, you liking me, you hating me, you wanting me dead, you wanting me alive. It doesn't have anything to do with that. God put me in contact with them because he said this, Greg, and I'm turning it right over to you. He said, Steve, if you'll be willing to warn my people, I'll bring the people to you that know what you need to warn my people about. That's the only way I can even have contact with people all over the world. They contact me. And I know, Greg, and you know this, that you've got to have multiple witnesses. You live in this world because obviously in your military experience, which, I know you don't like to talk about it, but I'll tell you, ladies and gentlemen, he walks the walk and talks the talk. But the point is that we're at this position in time where if the enemy is throwing everything they can at God's people better wake up, you know? And Greg, you've been as frustrated over the years as I have, but I mean, you know, how would you put it into what I call Greg, the way you speak? How would you communicate to people? We're not on the Good Time Friday night, titillate the ears of listeners worldwide. We're pleading with them in the name of the living God that God does not want his people destroyed. Yet history records that they don't want to listen to God. Or, quote, if you think we're not his messengers, then you shouldn't even have listened in the first place. But take it to the Lord in prayer. So put it into your words, Greg, and go for as long as you need.
Well, Steve, I guess, when we start looking at this over the whole field of conflict here, excuse me, we're seeing that there is no way that we can adequately, at least I don't think I can. You can, I'm sure, but I don't have the words. I don't have the phraseology. I don't have what it takes to put that last nail in the, I don't want to say the coffin, but there's just no way to adequately present to people what we're thinking and going through. We have done everything. Oh, Steve, is it not easier? And I get, we have our periodic phone calls where we check in and pray for each other and so forth. But wouldn't it be easier? Just wouldn't it be easier not to have to be involved with this? Leave it to somebody else. I don't want to. I'm 67 years old today. And so I'm
Happy birthday, my beloved brother.
Well, thank you, buddy. I tell you, that I made it this far is a miracle of God. When I heard the doctor say probably won't make it through the night, as you mentioned, I said, well, all right, Lord, if that's it, then bring me a really nice plane to fly up to heaven. But seriously, I just said, okay, I am ready. But if you've got anything for me to do yet, well, then leave me behind and tell me what it is you want done. And so far, considering that I couldn't walk, my legs were basically being sacrificed, which in the end my beautiful wife said, no, you're not going to do that. You're not cutting off his legs. You're not going to, if you can't do this, you're a doctor, you're a surgeon, known around the world. I was at Mayo's. And no. And so I'm learning to walk again. And I'm learning to, and I've gotten a good ways down the road, but I've got a little way to go yet. Be hard for me to run a marathon, but I try. But here's the deal. When we get up in the morning, I don't know about you, Steve, but I pray, and then I go, all right, Lord, what kind of excitement we got today? And I'm praying for my wife. She had a heart attack a year ago and has really been mercifully saved and brought back to just virtually full health. And so I'm not sure why Liz and I have been singled out, I guess. No, that's not correct. A lot of people go through a lot of problems. But it's been very tough. No voice, not able to walk, not able to feed, prepare a meal, nothing. I was completely dependent on my wife. And so to tell you, Steve, that I would rather have stayed off the phones with my contacts, military, police, and so forth, would have been far easier. And when I get accused of all kinds of things, and I get told that, well, you and Quayle are just always harping about this and going on, but, I don't know. I don't think I can believe you. Well, that's your choice. But I'm not going to stop. I'm not going to quit. My dear friend Rod and Julie, my friends down in Lower Michigan, are the kind of people, and there's others down there as well. Philip, if you're listening tonight, God bless you. And Sheriff Darleaf and others, you're wonderful friends. I appreciate you, and I will stand by you. But I'll tell you this one last time. If you get in this arena, you better be ready to get yourself thrashed, top to bottom. I've been in a lot of fights over the years, and I've walked away pretty slow on a couple of occasions, and I don't care to go through that again. But I will tell you that I'm going through it now, because the one side says, enough, Craig, enough. And I want to get on the phone and call you, Steve, and say, what do you think of that idea? I know what you're going to say. Don't you dare. And I would tell you, don't you dare. Do you realize, folks, that Steve Quayle and the wonderful help that Joe and Doug have been, but Steve has as well. But Steve has gone out without being asked, without trying to make well, here, look at me, look what I'm doing. That's just not in his character. And I've seen him in just about all kinds of situations. And he wouldn't do that. He's not made up that way. But he's brave enough. And I say that, listen, it takes courage to do what Joe and Doug do and to do what Steve Quayle does. I'm telling you, it takes courage like many of you have only read about or heard about from World War II or Vietnam or something like that. And so when it comes on you like that, you can't just leave somebody out in the cold. And that's why my support has been, always will be, with Steve Quayle. Not somebody else that has got one iota of an idea of what they're doing. And others who just want to seek us out and give us trouble. Carloads of trouble. Because why? Because they didn't think of it? No. Because they think they've got a better idea? No, they don't have an idea at all. But I'll tell you this. When it comes down to it, I just hope and pray that I'll be in the throne room in heaven when God calls Steve Quayle in and says, Steve, well done, good and faithful servant. And I just can't wait to be in a position to